All right, so I wanted to take a minute and shoot a quick video on estimate insights within HeavyBid. It was a popular topic at users group meeting this year, and I've had quite a few customers in the weeks since ask me about turning on estimate insights and beginning to use it. So it seems like a feature that's gaining some traction, something that's valuable to our HeavyBid users, and something that a lot of people don't seem to know about at the moment. So I wanted to get the word out, maybe shoot a quick walkthrough on how to turn on estimate insights and how to use it. So to start off with, what Estimate Insights is it's a way to take the current bid that you're working on in HeavyBid and compare some KPIs, some key performance indicators on that bid to past estimates. Make sure that you have a good idea of where this bid sits in terms of your average labor cost, your average equipment cost, your markups, your margins, really to help you identify as part of your bid review process if there's anything that is out of the ordinary. To understand kind of where this bid falls in your normal scheme of bidding, and just to do a little bit of a gut check to make sure that you guys haven't used an incorrect resource, an incorrect price. It's going to help catch a lot of those potential errors as you're estimating along the way. And so I just wanted to talk quickly about how to turn on Estimate Insights and a little bit of how to use it. The first thing you're going to want to do in order to turn on Estimate Insights is actually go to HCSS credentials. So you may need to be an admin user or have an admin user do this for you. But in HCSS credentials, if you go under product setup, go to HeavyBid, and then go to preferences, there's a check mark here for you to allow access to estimate history in HeavyBid. And what this is going to do is allow some of those estimates in HeavyBid to be archived or synced up to the web portion of pre-construction where Estimate Insights lives. So another thing worth noting, Estimate Insights is free to all HeavyBid users. There is no charge to it. It can be accessed through our pre-construction module on the web, which has some additional paid features available to you there, which we might talk about in another video. But the first thing you're going to want to do to use Insights is make sure that estimate history is turned on in credentials. Once you've done that, you can go into HeavyBid itself, go into the Tools menu, Preferences, and System Preferences. And down here under the Web Applications, if you go to Estimate Archive and History, there will be a second step. The first one was to sign that service agreement in credentials to go through what we just did, and then enable that estimate history here by checking the box. And so once that's enabled, you will be able to archive or sync estimates from HeavyBid up to the web portion where this data is stored. And that's what we use to analyze your current bid against the historical performance, the historical metrics, and kind of a statistical analysis. So what that looks like is if I go up to the web portion on HeavyBid pre-construction, I'm going to go to this Estimate Insights icon, go to my estimate list, and now I've got a list of all the estimates that have either been synced or archived to the web. And if there's one that I'm working on, maybe one that I'm about to submit and I want to do a gut check on, I can come through here and grab that estimate and then go into my key indicators section over here on the left-hand sidebar. And I'm going to get to look at some of the KPIs with some pretty simple traffic light, red, yellow, green indicators of whether these are in normal ranges or not. So just a quick look at what we're seeing on the screen here. We've got about 45 KPIs that we are tracking by default. You can create some custom KPIs here as well. 19 of them are within what we consider normal ranges. 26 of them are in a warning range, starting to stray outside our normal range. And we don't have any right now that are in a total outlier mode, which would be showing up in red, which is good. But I can also see all the different breakdowns here, labor and equipment. These are the standard KPIs that HeavyBid and Insights are going to track for you. So if I start digging through here, what I can see is that some of these common ones are going to show me, hey, what is my base labor as a percentage of my total labor? On this job, it is 66% of my total labor. I can see that from my past estimates, this range is somewhere between 66 and 88%. So fairly wide range here. As you get more estimates in the system, as you run more bids through HeavyBid, that range will probably tighten up as long as you're pretty consistent with your bids and those numbers aren't all over the place. It also depends on how many estimates you're filtering by or looking through. That's something I'll talk about in just a moment with estimate filters. But here you can see that we do a lot of key metrics. Base labor is a percentage of total labor. The inverse of that, what is my burden as a percentage of total labor? What is my labor cost as a percentage of my bid total, right? So in this case, I've got 20% of my bid is labor cost. This says I'm normally somewhere between 8 and 20%, so I'm a little on the high side. That's flagged as yellow as an outlier. But this is the type of information, like I said, just kind of that gut check that makes me come through here, look at some of these KPIs and say, hey, is anything really off? Is anything out of the ordinary that I might want to dig into a little bit more before I submit this bid, and make sure that nothing is incorrectly used, or I don't have the wrong resource or something of that nature throughout my estimate. And I'll briefly scroll down. I won't go through all of these, but you can see with equipment, we kind of have the same thing. Equipment cost as a percentage of the bid total. Owned equipment versus rented equipment, what that ratio is. Owned equipment as a percentage of my total equipment cost. Rented equipment as a percentage of my total equipment cost. This is one actually that I like to tell the story. I had a customer that was using HeavyBid Insights and identified that they had accidentally used an outside rent rate instead of an inside rent rate for their bid. And this caught that because their rented equipment percentage was way higher than they expected. They went back, they corrected that before they submitted the bid, probably saved them an opportunity at winning that. So those KPIs are going to be here. This is really more of a read only. There's not a whole lot to do here other than make sure that your numbers are correct. The only other thing I will mention, if you want to maximize the use out of Estimate Insights, is to filter and tag your estimates so that you're looking at the right subset of work to compare this against. It might not be relevant to compare this to every estimate you've ever done. You might want to filter down by a specific owner that you've bid for, or a specific state that you've bid in, or a specific type of work that you do. You might not want to compare your highway transportation DOT estimates to some private site utility work that you're doing, because those are different scopes, different margins, different KPIs that you expect to see. So in order to fully maximize this, what you're going to want to do is go into HeavyBid, and under the Setup tab, go to More and go to Tags. And here you're going to get a list of all of your estimates, and go down to the bottom right to Edit Tags. And this is where you can actually create the tags that you're going to want to filter and sort by. So some pretty common ones here. What year did we do this? Who was the owner of the job we were bidding this for? What type of work is it? Who is the estimator? Any number of things that you might want to create and tag and filter by, you can do here. And if you've already got a lot of estimates in the system, this is the screen where you're going to be able to kind of go through and update those in bulk and say, hey, who is the owner of this job, the owner of this job, the owner of this job, and start to get some of that data assigned to past estimates. But once you've got everything up to speed and up to date, what's really going to happen is when you go create a new estimate within HeavyBid, when you're on the new estimate screen and putting the name in, those tags will show up here so that I can assign those tags as I'm actually creating the job and go through and classify this the right way and say who I'm doing the work for, what type of work is it, who's the estimator, and that will categorize that properly for when I want to go through and filter and sort on the Insights side later. So that is the gist of Estimate Insights. It is really to help with your bid review, to make sure nothing's out of the ordinary, to give you that gut check on the statistical analysis of where all of your different metrics and KPIs land on this project before you submit it, to give you a little more peace of mind. So if you have any questions, reach out to HCSS. We're happy to help.